Hello everybody, and I'm ready to end this content drought on this channel. It's been a pretty busy couple of weeks, and to be fair, I'm happy to be back to do what I love most, which is talking. So I want to go through a few ideas that went through my mind during this month. This is just like a log. It's like you're in a storm, you're this captain of this ship which is sinking. I mean, it's not sinking, it's doing perfectly fine. Your life isn't a sinking ship. Stop thinking about that. But yes, about certain ideas that kind of took over recently. So the first thing would be what to do when you're in a rut, when you're feeling like things are really terrible. Maybe you are laid off, maybe you are having some certain other issues. And I found to be very important. And by the way, I'm a neurotic type, so putting my mind to ease, it's quite difficult, okay? So I find very important to realize what's something that I can control, what's something that I cannot control. And then, okay, once I realize that, if that's something that I can control, then I'm able to do some certain actions. If there is no action to be taken, move your focus to something else. I think that's the ultimate strategy when something terrible happens. I don't think there are better ways of dealing with stuff. I think it's very important to embrace the fact that things suck. So I don't believe in the idea of pretending that everything is fine, or let's say fake it till you make it. No, I think you should be blunt, you should be straightforward, you should be saying, okay, this situation sucks. The fact that I got laid off, it's really terrible. I kind of need the money to pay rent, to, eat, and these kind of luxuries. But yeah, eventually, what can you do? Well, apply to jobs, or talk to some friends and rekindle all the business contacts and try to see, maybe you can start on your own, maybe you can be a sort of contractor if you have some skills that can be practical, or even soft skills, right? You can still be a contractor in so many fields, but again, there are so many options, but you have to get a bit over the initial shock. So I think that's the most important phase, and that's something that kind of struck me while reading 12 More Rules for Life, the new book by Jordan Peterson. I just started it, again, been terribly busy, and I won't comment on the things that are in the book per se, but the whole environment in which the book was written. This is to say that, hey, there are so many things that one could be focusing on right now. It depends on what you decide to focus on. And when you do decide, when you have made a decision, then things get more clearer by each day. And I think this is probably the experience of every person who went through something traumatic or something that's not entirely positive. I think obviously you don't forget things are still there, but they sort of kind of blend with the background. They're not always in front of you, in front of your eyes. And I think that's the best way to go through something that's difficult, to just plow through, identify the fact that your situation then really sucks, try to find methods of diminishing the suck, and if there are no methods, just trying to accept that and to come to the conclusion that, hey, you know what, it's not in my control, why shouldn't it affect me mentally? And very close to that, I think stress is still something that's very important to us, and I'm recommending, and obviously there are many articles, but for a good introduction, it's Sapolsky's book, Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. Hopefully I'm not butchering that title, because I'm just doing this from recollecting, but it's something that I really encourage you to read, and anything that can put your awareness wake up your awareness to the fact that stress is probably the worst thing that you can do to your own body. That's incredibly powerful. Am I doing well in that area of my life? No, I'm doing really terrible, but yeah, what can you do? And I had to refilm this because obviously we're trying to keep this PG friendly. Not that we get any money from advertising, but yeah, people are watching and you don't want me to swear. So that aside, that side note aside, there are a few ideas still. One of them is, even if there's something or somebody that you admire, some things that they do might not fit you, or might not be things that you really want to replicate. And here is a book from a guy that I absolutely look up to. He's one of the people that I would love to be able to replicate in terms of his work and what he did. And I started reading this book, which was a compendium of his best works. And by the way, yeah, don't go for that kind of books. Typically, when they're compendiums of works, they're pretty terrible, like they're all over the place. But in this case, I was expecting it to be pretty good because it also had the input of this certain person. So I was expecting, okay, this is going to be grand, this is going to be fine. And I didn't manage to go further than page 8 or 9, and not for the lack of trying. It was such a dry read without any sort of logic, and it was jumping from one idea to the other that it made no sense. And after trying 2 or 3 times to read it, I realized that I was in the same position where I've been in January with a book that I kind of talked about back then. And that book, I tried everything to read it because everybody said, hey, that's the greatest book in terms of spirituality and all of that. And it was, okay, I am trying very hard not to swear, but it was a massive waste of time. And for me, and that's I think the whole idea here, that, and I'm saying this over and over in many videos, but the crowd is untruth, and the thing that worked for many people does not necessarily work for you. So the only way of finding something that works for you is, okay, obviously look at what people did before, extract information from there, try the same things, but if something doesn't work the first time, the second time, then why try it the third time again? Like, repeating the same thing is just, you know, the recipe for insanity. Everybody knows this quote, the misquote, I would rather say. But yeah, I think you're the only person that can realize if something is working for him or her or it's not. And that's an incredible, powerful skill to have, because in certain cultures we treat everything like a must. If somebody says that something is great, if more people say that something is great and that's what you should do, then you should follow the path. And I'm not saying that there isn't value in that, because there is a certain reason why there are norms, why there is a normality, why people adhere to certain sort of notion. So yeah, sometimes that kind of advice helps, but other times it just makes you stuck in a place and you're feeling kind of terrible, because you know that everybody's telling you, hey, you should be in a certain way, in a certain manner, and you're not, and you're starting to feel like there is something wrong with you. And this is the first kind of let's say self-awareness step. I hate that word so much, but yes, it's the first step in which you can say, okay, there is something that's around me that's not necessarily good for me. Because if something comes natural to me and it's a positive, it's not something that hurts anybody, it's something that actually makes me perform better or do a certain task better, whatever, then, and I'm not doing it because I'm afraid of what people would say, well, you should really think of the pressure around you. If that pressure is real, if that pressure is really inside your head or it's not. And actually, I'm coming after a period in which I felt a lot of pressure, but most of it, I think it was self-inflicted. And again, on the same level, it's the question of what would X think, what would Y think of me if I'm giving up on this job, on this dream, on this business, on whatever. And at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. It really boils down to what's logical, what you can achieve, what you can do. Nah, not worth it, man. Not worth it. Better ways to spend your time. And with that, I will see you in April. And it's been a massive pleasure, as always, to just blabber at the camera. See ya.